Kia ora homa. In today's food, we're going to be looking at simulations of what astronauts might eat while they're up there floating around in the sky in the International Space Station. So if that seems like your kind of thing, stick around and I'll see you in the video. Hi, so you're back. And what we're going to be looking at today is we're going to be looking at MRE food. In New Zealand we refer to it as ORP, and what that means is MRE stands for Meals Ready to Eat, and ORP stands for Operational Ration Pack. Now, the reason why we're looking at this is at the moment my school is studying space, and so the closest simulation that we can get to space food or astronaut food would be MRE packs or MRE kits. Now, I know there's some people that might be watching up there, what about astronaut ice cream, or what about this, or what about that? So generally, from the information that I've researched, those things that like freeze-dried ice cream and what they call astronaut ice cream and stuff, that's actually fictitious. That's like a novelty food product that's been created, and because it's freeze-dried, it's called astronaut food. And astronauts don't eat freeze-dried ice cream in space. They do, as far as I'm aware, eat freeze-dried foods, and it's predominantly things like pasta and vegetables and things like that, to which they add water to rehydrate them and eat them. Aside from that, they do eat what's called shelf-stable food, and what that means is food that's been pre-cooked, packaged into a single serving, and then it's reheated before consumption, or it can be eaten cold because it's been pre-cooked, and that means that the food is A, safe to eat because it's been pre-cooked, and B, it's stable in a packet, in an airtight packet, and won't go off anytime soon, because logic says that when you go into outer space you can't take a whole substantial amount of food stuff with you that will go off over time. Generally speaking, the astronauts will spend a period of about 6 months on a space station doing a mission of some variety or other, whatever they're up there for, depending on their specialty and the experiments required of them. And so they have to take the food with them, and so it can't take up a lot of space on the rocket, the transportation that they use to get there, and it has to last that 6 months. So what we're going to be looking at is this MRE kit. Now, this was kindly donated to me by a member of the armed forces, and I don't want to say who, only because I don't want to get them into any trouble or anything like that, which they wouldn't, but you know, just in case. But this is a standard New Zealand ORP, Operational Ration Pack, and this is the most similar simulation that a human on Earth, a civilian is a better way of putting it, a civilian would be able to get in relation to that. Now, there's a lot of stuff in here that isn't relative to astronauts, but I'm going to show you that stuff anyway for interest's sake, so you're not going, oh man, I wish it showed us everything in there. So, this ORP is made to last for 24 hours, so it has your 3 square meals for the day, breakfast, lunch and dinner, as well as snacks and any condiments that you might like. And condiments, for my younger viewers who don't understand what a condiment is, that's things like mustard, tomato sauce, salt and pepper, and those kind of things. So we'll look at the breakfast items first, and I'll try and leave the more spacey things for last. Now, for breakfast, you've got a packet of muesli, and you've also got strawberry fruits and grains, and you would add those to your muesli. You would probably add water to these. Now, this particular ORP kit, as far as I'm aware and what I've looked at, does not come with milk or any kind of milk powder. There is a milk substitute, and we'll come to that later. So that's muesli. You've also got a instant beef soup, and I think there's a tomato soup in there too. Don't quote me on that. There's a couple of different soups in there too, so if you like having, some people have soup for breakfast. I don't, I hate soup, but you never know. Then for lunch, there's a couple of different options. Now, you might have this might be a snack food to some people, but some people might say you could have that for lunch. So there's beef noodles, and it comes with a sachet of onion flakes. And then you've got your two main meal packets. Now these meal packets are probably the closest simulation to what astronauts eat. Now, just to go into a bit of deeper information here, NASA provided their food, obviously being Americans, they eat these special kind of pouches. Now these have single serving foods in them. This one here is creamy chicken and potato, and this one on this side is Thai lamb curry. Okay, so they would have slightly different menus, but the way in which the food is packaged is the same. So you can see it's kind of gelatinous, and what I mean by gelatinous is a bad word to describe it, but soft and malleable, and that's because the product inside here is like a liquid format, kind of a stew. So it provides a lot of nutrients, it's easy to consume, it's not super chewy and things like that. So everything you need is in here. And that's what most NASA astronauts would carry. Now, this little can here, it doesn't have a label on it, but from what we can determine, me and a couple of other students, we believe it's cheese spread. Now, the Russians, they provide a lot of their food and nutrition to their cosmonauts via cans, because cans are shelf stable. Now, they refer in NASA, from what I understand, they call these soft cans because they are essentially the same thing. It's just a much more malleable product. Now, in a packaging sense, this to me makes a little bit more sense because they are malleable and you can pack them together a bit more tightly and get them into slightly different positions to make them fit and conform to slightly more awkward spaces. Whereas this, your only resort is to stacking things up in cans and finding space to stack the cans. So I hope that makes sense. Now, some of the other things that you've got in here, and this is the thing I was talking about as a milk substitute before. Back during the Mercury program, they had what's called tubes and cubes. Now, tubes and cubes, sorry, I've got that upside down. Tubes and cubes, food that comes in a tube format or a dehydrated cube format. And this one here, this isn't necessarily a tube or a cube, it's just to show you what the packaging would look like. This is actually sweetened condensed milk. It says it on the big label there if you haven't read it already. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically a milk product that's condensed, so it's almost like a paste, and it's really, really sweet. And as soon as I showed that to the kids, New Zealand kids know what this is, and it's delicious. If you're a Brazilian, you might use this to make brigadeiros. It's really, really yummy stuff if you've never had it before. And so I think in this packet, it's either used to sweeten your breakfast foods like muesli, but in these packages, there's also tea and coffee, and you might use it in that, I'm not sure. But basically, it provides you with a lot of energy, because it's obviously got a lot of sugar and things like that in it. Now, some of the other things that are in this packet, this is your condiments packet, and it's got the beef soup in it, but it's also got tea, sugar, coffee, pepper, salt, all that kind of stuff. But one of the things that you can see down here is sport drink, lemon lime, and that's basically like Gatorade. It's an electrolyte drink. In space, they will provide electrolyte drinks as well, but it won't necessarily be in that sort of a format. It'll be more in the format of pre-made inside a sachet, and they might either put that into a panel inside the space station and it hydrates it for them, or it might already come something like this as almost like a smoothie where they stick a tube into a receptacle and are able to consume it straight from like a squishy kind of a bag like that. So I've talked a lot in this video showing you what's in the bag. Now what I'm going to do is in a later video I'm going to unpackage some of these food groups and show you what's inside, so you get a really good look at what actually is in there, and you can make up your own mind whether astronaut food looks like delicious food or yuck food. And I'll be eating some as well, and I'll be able to tell you what it's like. So until the next video, ka kite anō, and I'll see you next time on Mr. Ashley's Place.